Welcome to Koffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person.
Dan, you know that I've often had some negative feedback from these videos with you and I, from these podcasts, I think we call them, and I don't talk to you about it a lot. I mean, because it's a very personal thing when people are going to get out there and basically make fun of my weight. It's not okay, but I guess if I'm supposed to be this public persona that comes on a podcast with you, I have to be able to take it, right? I mean, isn't that what it's about? So I can't though, Dan. My psyche is very fragile. So I'd like to announce publicly to our audience because they care. They care. And Dan cares. I really don't care. I've begun my weight loss journey as of this morning. I'm 1 hour into it. And this is my thinking about it so you guys can appreciate my motivation. As you know, I've not yet been able to garner a ticket for Worlds. And so Dan has made it infinitely clear that I won't get one at all at this point. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to be so thin by the time Worlds gets here that I can actually sneak in sort of like a toothpick, sort of like a small knife. I can just kind of jimmy myself through the door jamb and I'll be able to get in that way because no one will be able to see me. I'm thinking with about 4 months to go. Let me just think about that. June, July, August. Yeah, right. That's good counting, David. 3 months to go. Boy, time flies when you're not having fun and you're extremely overweight. That I'll be able to utilize those 3 months for the benefit of getting myself into tremendous shape to either sneak into Worlds or possibly beat the heck out of any other social media influencers that have made me angry over the years that I happen to see at the venue. Dan, you like my plan?
That's a good plan. It's a good goal. I had a couple of negative comments myself this week over this weekend about some videos I put up. Someone was not happy that I opened 4 of the new Prismatic Evolutions collection, which was myself and Law getting 2 each, which is not a lot.
But they were angry with you for getting an excess one that you weren't supposed to get or something?
Well, I mean, me and Law got 1 each from 2 different stores,
right?
But they said that I got 4 and apparently normal collectors got none. I don't know what a normal collector is, but...
And that's a reference to hair, Dan. That's a reference to
someone... Oh, no, I had another completely different comment about my hair color and how that made my video unwatchable or something. I don't know.
Boy.
That was a completely different comment.
It's, Dan, we have to take great pride in the fact that people that don't have anything to do in their lives and really have no reason to basically get up in the mornings have our videos to watch to make themselves feel better about themselves and put out those kind of nasty comments. So I think it's sort of like we're doing a public service at this point, Dan. Congratulations.
It's great because in terms of me and Law getting 2 each of those collections, I'll share my secrets because I've never really kept it a secret. Get in touch with your local game stores. Start going to Pokemon League. Build up a relationship. Try and pre-order it when it gets announced. Don't just wander into GameStop at 10 a.m. on the morning of release. It's very, very simple to get a hold of product. You just have to keep an eye on when stuff is coming out and think about it more than 24 hours in advance. If you're commenting on the Facebook page just going, oh, what store do I need to go to when it opens tomorrow to get this product? You're too late. Just don't put it off. Don't ignore it. Do it a couple of weeks in advance. One of the stores that we worked with, one of the stores that we got ours from, they don't open pre-orders until I think it's 3 or 4 weeks before release. I mean, one of them, we were on the wait list since January when they first announced this product, and we're already on the wait list at that same store for the product that comes out in September. But the other store, they opened their wait list 3 or 4 weeks in advance. They gave priority to people who come to their Pokemon League. So that's it. It's as simple as, if you want product, start making relationships with stores. Don't just wander into GameStop on the morning of. It's very, very simple.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, my friend. I did not get any of those collections.
That's fine, because you don't open product.
That's fine, but I'm going to make it very clear to you. You will expect, can expect, shall expect, and are going to find yourself in tremendous hot water when you read the comments I leave this week on our videos, on your videos. It's your video. So that you can understand how upset I am that you and Lord took advantage of the system and I got the big nil. Okay, so just be
Yeah,
ready.
but what you got is you're getting one of the promos from my 4 boxes, because I get at least 3 of every product anyway from me, you, and Law.
All right, Dan, listen, I'd like to retract my negativity. I'd like to
Yeah.
say, just because you were kind enough to hold a promo for me, that at this point in time, I will not comment on the videos, or I will comment in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Dan, I have something else to say from a news
All right.
standpoint. And I think that we both know that the drama in the hobby is rampant. It's basically what garners all the views and what everybody loves to see. And I always wonder, why don't they just take that drama from the hobby and put it to wherever else in the world it exists? So I would like to add my drama to the community this week and let everyone know that officials, police officers, sheriff officers, FBI, etc., are still searching for 7 escaped inmates from a Louisiana prison who basically cut a hole behind a toilet in their cell, and they got out from there. Now, why would I bring that up in a Pokemon podcast? Because you see, guys, that's tremendously negative. Why would anybody still be able to do this day and age? It's like an old movie, right? That's still what happened. And yet it does happen. Okay. So why isn't that the drama that we're focused on? Do you think? I think it's a very good chance that these people escaped and were on the escape and decided to escape. I'm going to ask Dan in a minute if he would choose to do that if he was serving a life imprisonment sentence. But I think they escaped specifically because of the hot nature of the Pokemon card hobby. It's come to my attention that one of them was a longtime collector and actually decided he wasn't willing to serve his time if he couldn't collect Pokemon cards. And this was a chance for him to get in one of those GameStop lines early and try to begin to get collecting again. Incognito, obviously, with a alternate disguise and everything, they wouldn't recognize him. But I think they'll be escaped for a while, because with as hot as the hobby is, there's no reason not to. Dan, for your comment today, you are now serving a life imprisonment sentence. Somebody cuts a hole in a toilet and you can use it to escape. Are you going to use it to escape and get out of there, Dan, and give it your one last shot at life on the outside? Or are you going to just sit there and say, you know what? Nope, I got to do my time?
I mean, if it's a life sentence, I'd probably try and escape. If it was a short sentence where I know I'd get out soonish anyway, and that escaping would add a lot more time to my sentence, I probably wouldn't try and escape. But if I'm in prison for life anyway, I might as well, right?
I think so, Dan. I don't think. Plus, I don't know in prison if you'd be able to keep your hair and the things that people are criticizing you for in the way that you do right now. I know they'd love the tattoos that you have, even if they're not finished, because that would make you like one of the Pikachu gang members. You know, there's like the Crips and the something else, and then there's the Peaks, and you would definitely be the leader of the Peaks gang members, just because that tattoo is a beauty, buddy. So congratulations. I think you made the right decision on trying to get out of there. Can you do me a huge favor, just real quick for our audience, because it is so cute? Do you think you could lift Bidoof so that we could see more than just his ears for a second? I would like to see more than just his ears in the scanning.
He was sitting in my desk chair, so I had to pick him up so that I could sit down and record. So
Bidoof, buddy, what's up? That's good, man. That's good news, man. Dan, talk to us about something Pokemon related. I've rambled on for 8 minutes and I'm pretty much done for the rest of the video. So I just want you guys to watch me shrink away over the next 120 days. Dan, go ahead.
Well, I did pre-release this weekend. I went to my one midnight pre-release, which was at one of the stores Law works at. Law ran this one. We had 51 people there at midnight, which is a pretty good number. We had a cap of 52 because we got 60 pre-release kits total, and we decided to save at least 8 so that we could run one next week. And the one that's happening next week, they're prioritizing juniors and seniors, the younger players who probably can't make it to a midnight release. And the plan was, there's going to be up to 9 people playing in that one now, but the plan was any extras that didn't come in at midnight, keep those as well for the next Sunday. But it turns out we nearly hit cap. We got 51. There was a couple of no-shows and a few people turned up on the wait list just in hope. So fingers crossed they'll keep increasing our allocation so we can get closer to what we used to be at, and then we can just keep growing this midnight one, and then we can, go from there. Because apparently the way they actually look at your metrics for how many people you had playing the pre-release is how many unique players you had playing. So we used to do, I think last one we did, a midnight one that was capped at like 48, a Saturday one the day after that had at least 16, and then a one on the Sunday the next week. But some people played in all three. So apparently, for the way Pokemon runs the numbers, they count that as one person, even though they're playing in 3 events. So that's another reason they're prioritizing the juniors, seniors for the next week event, is to try and get more unique players to try and grow our allocation. Because I think at our best we were getting about 130 kits, but
Dan, were there juniors at the midnight event? Did any juniors?
It was all masters at the midnight event.
Okay. Could juniors would they have been allowed to come, or was it not?
Yeah.
Because
they would have been allowed. They would have been allowed to play, but we figure it was, it's their parents are unlikely to let them come to an event starting at midnight, if they've had a full day at school on Friday.
Okay. Yeah, understood.
Yeah, so I'm playing another one tomorrow night. I guess tonight, as people watch this, Tuesday night is at the other store Law runs events at, so I'll be playing another one there.
Now you play, but Lore judges. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So, the one at midnight, Law was the organizer, and I think Law is the organizer for this one on Tuesday as well. And Law might be a judge at one of the other ones. So Law
Can
either
you not
organizes
do
or
both,
judges.
Dan? Can you not be an organizer and a judge?
No, there has to be an event organizer and an event judge. I think pre-release, technically, you're allowed to have it without a judge, but because of this, especially when it gets like 52 people, they normally want to have an actual judge there to make sure everything's going okay. I think at pre-release, if you just have the organizer is allowed to answer the ruling questions. It's a very casual event. But then anything bigger than that, like a league challenge or whatever, you have to have the organizer and the judge be separate people.
And we've discussed this before, but essentially, people that come to a pre-release are going to get like a pack of cards. Is that their reward for showing up? Or is there anything else?
So when you buy into the event, you get a build and battle kit, which has a 40 card pre-built deck in it. It'll have one of the 4 pre-release promos, and you get 4 packs, and you build a deck out of. You can swap cards from your packs into the deck if you want. So in addition to the pre-release promo, the 40 card deck will normally have some, exclusive non-foils and stuff in it that we would care about as collectors. And then the way that Pokemon sends it out, it's that 3 packs per player go into the prize pool. Now, a lot of leagues, and the way we do it as well, is just everyone gets their 3 packs. We try and keep it very casual, very friendly to new players, very friendly to the juniors, seniors. Everyone gets their 3 packs at the end of it. Whether you won all 3 of your matches or lost all 3 of your matches, you just get your bonus 3 packs. Some places will do it with a more of a top-heavy prizing, where if you lose all 3 of your matches, maybe you just get 1 pack or no packs, and then if you win all 3, you're going to get a bigger amount. But I like just going to the casual ones where there's no pressure on winning. It's just about having fun with the new cards and stuff.
Can you differentiate between pre-release cards and staff pre-release cards? So you just mentioned that within the build and battle decks, typically they're going to get 1 pre-release card of the 4 different ones. Who are the people that are being given staff pre-release cards, and where are they given out across the myriad of events that Pokemon runs?
So staff pre-release cards will go to the organizers or judges at the pre-releases. They just will get sent to the same store or get sent to the league that's running it, and then they'll be distributed between the organizers and the judges. The judges also get a few packs as well for running the event. It's out of a brick of, like, a pre-release case brick comes with 10 build and battle kits in a sealed box. So with the 3 prizes 3 packs per player per prize, a judge gets 6 packs for every 10 players. The way that we do it at our leagues is just at the start, the 4 people who run pre-releases at our leagues, they just split it all evenly. So with us having 60 kits, there was a full box worth for the judges. There's 4 of them. Each of them just took 9 packs, because it's kind of unfair to say, well, whoever worked the midnight one gets the majority of it because they worked the 52-person event, and the others only worked the 8-person event, because then you'd have all the judges really pushing to want to work the midnight. So they all just split it evenly. But the staff promos also come in sealed packs of 4, so you get a sealed pack has all 4 different staff promos in it. But depending on how many you get per store, sometimes they get opened up and split. Like it used to be last couple of sets before Journey Together, our local stores only got like 1 or 2 staff sets total, so they just got opened up and each staff member got 1 or 2 promos. The last Journey Together, it actually upped the numbers quite a bit, so we haven't got them yet for this set, but hopefully we get a high number again. Each staff member was able to get like 1.5 sets from the stores they worked out, which was great. And the staff promos are fully locked to just the pre-release events. Like I know the build and battle kits get released again. Stores can keep ordering the build and battle kits and selling them after the set releases. You'll often see the build and battle kits for sale in places like GameStop. I don't know if Target and Walmart do it, but other stores that don't run events can order and sell the build and battle kits, which will still have one of those 4 promos in, but the staff promos are only for the actual events.
Do you think that pre-release staff promos, just because they're given out a little different way than inside of a product, do you think that, we've talked about backdoor before. Do you think a lot of those come out through the back doors? Like, I don't know how to really process that, because I think about the fact that there shouldn't be that many coming out, but to each store. But
There
yet
will be
there's
a
a lot
lot.
of stores.
There's a lot of stores. I
Yes,
honestly,
understood there's a lot of stores, but I feel like I've had a lot of people approach me where they've got 2, 3, 4 sets of sealed. I'm not speaking of any particular set, but in the past, where they've got, okay, I've got 3 or 4 sets of this, Journey Together pre-release staff pack.
Yeah.
How did they get so many?
It can just be if there is one store where there's, one organizer, one judge, and they run all of the pre-release events on their own. Like maybe they get enough kits where they can run 2 events on the first weekend, 2 events on the second weekend. Maybe they get 100 kits total if they have a good attendance. With Journey Together with the last set, that would mean they got 10 sets of staff promos. So if there is just one organizer, one judge, they're taking 5 full sets each from that. Even previous sets, if they have a big allocation and not that many members of staff, if it's just the same couple of people running all the events, they're going to get all of the staff promos themselves.
Do you think that staff pre-release promos have decreased in popularity over the years? Meaning that again, with so many, in my opinion, I believe so many fewer people are continuing to collect master sets. And so, when you were collecting master sets and you wanted to have those promos in with the sets, they were obviously a big part of what people would look for. I don't have that sense these days that there's nearly as many people looking for those kind of things for sets. And yet sometimes I see the price coming down rapidly. Sometimes I see them try to hold prices. Any thoughts on your thinking, as your feelings about popularity of pre-release staff promos anymore?
I do think so. I think because if you look at it, it is just a card with a stamp on it that says staff, because there is the regular pre-release version. And the regular pre-release versions, or the build and battle kit versions, I should say, because they're out there in such huge quantities, you could get all 4 from a set for probably $10. A staff set is probably still running you minimum $100, I would think, for a seal pack of 4, maybe more depending on what the actual cards are or what the actual Pokemon is in there. So I think that because there are so much more coming out and there are so many more variants of cards, that just a card with a staff stamp isn't really doing it for people, because there is other stuff coming out. Like there's the Professor cards that have the Professor Program logo on. There's prize packs, which again are a lot cheaper. For prize packs, again, are just a logo in the corner of a card, but they're a lot cheaper than staff cards. So there's also like Cosmos foil variants. People really like those. I think just the fact that there's so many more variants out there to collect, that staff promos always are going to have that higher price because staff aren't going to be willing to drop the price too significantly. Even if there isn't a huge demand, they'll just hold them until they find the person with the demand. The people who get these, they essentially get them for free. They get them for their time. So it's not like they have any actual money tied up in them. So generally they can afford to wait. So for a lot of people, it just comes down to, if I'm going to spend $200, do I want 4 cards that are almost identical to these other cards just with a staff stamp, or do I want cards that have a unique foil type, maybe a different artwork, maybe get some other Black Star promos, that kind of thing? I think just staff promos in general have gone that kind of trend.
Can you clarify for the newer viewers in our audience? And I think we have at least 2 or 3 of those now. I thank you guys. If you're new and you're viewing, you are so brave, and we love you much more than our regular audience, who I'm really tired of. For all of you that are regular audience and watching, and you know who you are, please keep watching. Seriously, I'm sorry. That was my bipolar self doing things I shouldn't have said, which, by the way, because I need to be sensitive, is not any put down to bipolar people. I've been accused of being bipolar, and yet I take no medication for it. Dan, can you explain what the deal is? Because I don't think there's anything that has to do with pre-release at all for special sets. Am I correct on that? And why is that, Dan?
Yeah, that's correct. For the special sets, so stuff like your Prismatic Evolutions, there's upcoming black and white sets or pair of sets, there aren't any pre-releases. The pre-releases are just...
Wait. So define. So I just want you to define. So we're going to call a special set a set where there's not a booster box issued of the cards.
Yeah.
Okay, now go ahead.
So, I mean, if you look on the codes as well, they give set codes when they release sets. So Scarlet Violet is code SV1, Paldea Revolved is SV2, and then, but you get codes which are like 3.5. I think maybe Prismatic is something like 7.5 or something like that. It's not a main series set. And I think that's just to keep the schedule of the 4 per year. Plus the fact that for these sets, they don't do a one-day big release. Like for your main sets, so your Destined Rivals, your big release days are a week on Monday is your release day for stores that ran pre-releases, and then Friday is your release for other stores, big box stores, that kind of thing. It's a set date. Whereas these others, they release them all throughout the year. And so that's one of the reasons. And there's other things, I think it is just to do with scheduling is one of the other things. If they don't want to be adding extra stuff to these special sets, they just want to keep it to these main series sets, keep it consistent, that kind of thing.
I mean, I guess what I don't really understand about it is, if you said to me, well, the reason they can't do this with a special set is because they can't package it appropriately. All right. They can't come up with a booster box and 10 build and battle kits, so it doesn't, serve its purpose in the same way for a pre-release event, and therefore they can't package a non-staff, a pre-release stamped card in there, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I could understand it from that, but I don't really understand. I never will, so it doesn't matter. There's many things I don't understand, and many things I shouldn't understand, many things I'm not capable of understanding. Stop talking. It's a podcast. It has to end. Sorry, I got upset at myself and a few friends. So that's the only thing I don't really understand, why the special sets don't get special treatment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just guessing on reasons that it would be, but I think the consistency, and I think consistency is just a big thing in tournament scheduling or pre-release scheduling, is just they want to have it for every set, every main series set, and there's no real consistency as to how often they do these special sets. Some we get 2 a year, some we get 1 a year. It really just depends. They definitely could package it up. The big thing that behind the scenes would take a lot of time is developing those 40 card decks, because it's not just a case of, I was going to even say getting new artwork. Now, starting with Destined Rivals, they don't even have new artwork because they've stopped being Black Star promos. They're back to just being Cosmos foil set variants. So they have the same artwork as the cards in the set, and they have original set numbering again for the first time since I think Evolutions had it, and then before that it was the black and white era. I think was the last time we had set variants, maybe even before that. But to build these 40 card decks, they have to be the 40 card decks as they are have to be sort of balanced. They have to actually play nicely for people who don't know really how to play yet, or who don't know how to build their own decks. So the development time behind these comes into coming up with the lists for these 40 card decks and testing them against each other and making sure they all play nicely with each other, basically.
Dan, when I've talked about sets, the one thing that you've taught me over the years of doing the podcast is that everything comes out of Japan and everything has to basically end up in a US card set at some point. So with that, against
No,
that,
no.
okay.
Almost everything that's in a US card set came from Japan, but not almost everything from Japan makes it into a US card set. Japan gets a ton of stuff that we never get over here.
Okay, so what is a special set? I guess I don't understand. If you're trying to make cards, if you're trying to mimic cards, if you're trying to get cards over here, they come from Japan in some situation. What is it? Why is one set a special set, a 0.5, and one set is a regular set, Destined Rivals, et cetera, Journey Together? What is the difference? Why do they choose to make some regular and some special?
Well, so in Japan, they're way less tied to what we have over here, which is the 4 main series sets per year with special sets sprinkled in. Japan kind of just releases sets how they want. I've said we're getting this black and white set, which is 2 sets released together at the same time. That's the first time they've done that over here. Japan has had that loads. I know when Diamond and Pearl came out, Japan had a Diamond set and a Pearl set, but then some cards were in both. Japan really plays about with the format a lot, and they have other sets which would be classified as special sets, but they just call them whatever they are. That's just Japan's decided to release a new set. But because of the way stuff works over here, I think probably pressure from marketing departments and something would be my guess at TPCI, that the marketing departments and the business heads want to keep the idea of, we're doing one main series set per financial quarter that's about the same size of set. Like Destined Rivals that we've got coming up, which was just a pre-release for. I talked about this before. That's actually 2 Japanese sets put together, because Japan had one set that was based on Team Rocket and one set that was based on some other Johto characters, which is why we've got a set that is like kind of half Team Rocket, but then you have like Ethan and other characters and stuff in there. It's because it's 2 sets smashed together, because we need to stick to this schedule over here of 1 main series set per quarter, which I think special sets kind of are a way of just getting more cards over that they wouldn't be able to fit into main series sets, or bringing over kind of the gimmick stuff, with the shiny sets where the regular set has like 60 cards, but then there's 120 shiny cards as a subset. That kind of thing wouldn't work too well as a main series set, because main series sets really have to affect the tournament structure in some way, or affect what decks are played at tournaments. Like, the worst thing for Pokemon would be if a main series set came out and everyone went, oh great, there's nothing playable in there, I don't need to update my deck from the last quarter, I'll just keep playing the same 60. They need cards in main series sets to affect the playing format, to make people buy new decks, basically, to keep the format alive and keep people buying into it. Special sets can be more like reprints. Like when we've seen those shiny sets, all of the shiny vault cards from Hidden Fates, whatever, they're all reprints. They're not mechanically unique. There's no card in there where you go, I need to have that version because it's the only version. They're just special versions of existing cards. So special sets are a lot more like that. Like when we look at Prismatic Evolutions, the main block of Prismatic Evolutions, it's almost entirely reprints. There's some new arts and stuff, but a huge amount of it is reprints, and I believe the majority of the special illustration rares are reprints as well. It's just giving people different versions of these cards. So Prismatic wouldn't work well as a main series set because there's nothing in there for players to go, oh, I need that because I need to put that in my deck, because there's nothing new to it. So that's one of the big things to it, is main series sets have to affect the playing of the game. The special sets don't as much.
See, that's my pearl of wisdom out of this video, so I appreciate that. I think that's always so interesting. We forget that, you've said so many different times that the foundation of this entire hobby is the game and is the playing of the game. We're so fortunate as collectors to have such wonderful, beautiful, amazing art cards to be able to collect and put in our collections, even if we don't play. But there's a team somewhere sitting in Japan, and they're playing and playing and playing and evolving how the game is played and coming up with new strategies and new attacks and all of that. And that's behind the scenes going on. And I forget that. And I think a lot of folks do as well, that's really the kind of the impetus, the motivation behind a lot of the new cards that are coming out. Yeah. And you're right. I know that it makes sense when they're trying to make sure this is still popular amongst the game players that are actually using them every single day. So,
yeah. And it works out well for the players as well, because, we saw with Journey Together, there was so much of it out there. All of the flippers and scalpers and stuff that try to buy out Journey Together, we've seen that they're selling them for MSRP. They're not making money on them because of how widespread it was. The flippers are making money on Prismatic Evolutions, but the players don't need to worry about that. And it kind of sucks for the collectors a bit that flippers are making a ton of money on it and it's harder to get, but as collectors, we can wait. Like, as a collector, it doesn't matter if you have Prismatic Evolutions now or if you have it next year. Players, it does hugely affect when you get cards.
Right. Okay. One thing you said that was interesting, and that is, you mentioned the name Ethan. And so, talking about, I think, Destined Rivals and the fact that there was a couple of different components in the set. And I think we should start a movement across the country that new baby names, and we have a lot of folks that are young parents, young men that are going to be parents soon, or are parents watching us. Dan, you're a dog parent, and so I don't know if, Elton John or whatever is going to be the name of your baby. But, I think that we could work on a whole new baby naming regimen book, suggestions that surround Pokemon characters. And with the popularity of the hobby the way it is right now, would be a huge hit, Dan. Are you in with this with me?
I think Ethan is a pretty popular name anyway. There's a lot of names from Pokemon that are just names. I think a lot of people still use them.
All right, fine. Dan, that's fine. If that's how you want to take it. But, Claire's Mantine is both neither a name nor a Mantine, an animal. So I don't know.
Claire is a name. Claire is definitely a name.
Dan. Of course you're going to criticize at the end. I didn't have to get on here with you today, okay?
Yeah.
Dan, it's good to see you. Do you want to talk about anything else, or should we say goodbye to our audience after we talked again about nothing?
One more thing. In the last video, you said that everyone needed to comment and tell me a different way to listen to my Tiger Lilies music without buying a CD player. And I don't think anyone knew what you were talking about, because no one did. So, what were you talking about when you said there was a different way for me to listen?
Yes. Well, you know what? It just goes to show you, I know absolutely nothing, except I do know how to eat food on a consistently inconsistent and way too often basis. That's all I know, Dan.
Right. So, anything? Do you even know what you were talking about?
No, of course I don't.
Okay.
No, most of the things that come out of my mouth are completely random because I like to hear myself talk, Dan, and everybody knows that about me. And I would think after this many Coffee Talks podcasts, you would know the exact same thing. But apparently you don't, because either you don't know it or you don't want to admit it, or you're not able to look me in a mirror, not with respect to yourself, and determine that there's nothing I say worth anything that anybody should ever watch this podcast for. So the answer is no.
Cool. I'll make sure I buy a CD player then.
Okay, fine. That sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys probably tomorrow, as long as I get back from pre-release in time. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Coffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person, with music by More Than Never and artwork by Lore Norton. A special thanks to all our Patreon members. Join us again next time.
But they don't want you to.